Okay, hello everyone. In this video we're going to be looking at something called hedging. It's something that we do in academic English, and if you can do it appropriately or do it well, it will certainly improve the style and the register of your language, which makes it sound more academic. Okay, so let's have a look at what it looks like. But let's first of all look at the reasons why you use it. So let's have a look at this sentence here. Students avoid early morning lectures. Okay, that's a generalized statement. It's a generalization. So you're basically, when you say without a, you're just saying basically all. When you do it like this, you're basically saying all students avoid early morning lectures. Okay, and a lecture is where you go into an auditorium like this, and the lecturer is standing in front at the university and is giving you a lesson, right? The problem with this is it's a generalization, and it can be refuted. It can be, we'll look at the word refuted in a second, but let's have a look at all these people here. They will say that's not true. We are here, aren't we? Okay, yes, but they're still sleeping. All right, but it's still possible to say that is not true. That is a generalization, and it is not true for all students. Okay, so what we need to be able to do is work out a way to make statements that cannot be refuted. Okay, and let's just have a look quickly at what the meaning of refute is. Whoops, let's go back, sorry. Supposed to be zooming in there, not going backwards. So let's have a look at this. So to refute, to prove that a statement or idea is not correct. So to refute a claim, refute an idea, refute a hypothesis. These are the collocations with the word refute. And rebut is another way to say it, a synonym. Okay, so an attempt to refute Darwin's theories about evolution. Or you can say it's a statement to say that a statement is wrong or unfair. You can deny something. So refute an allegation, refute a suggestion. This is more about crime, whereas this one is more about an idea or a statement. Okay. Refutable, meaning able to say, no, that's not true. If something is refutable, you can say to it, no, that's not true. If you want to make this negative, you say irrefutable. So irrefutable evidence is a common collocation, IRR, irrefutable evidence. That's evidence that it's impossible to say, no, that's not true. Okay, and that's a very useful collocation here. Right. So what we're trying to do then with hedging is to make statements that cannot be refuted. Okay, so let's have a look at how we can do that. Right. That's where this hedging comes in. Right. So let's go and have a look at this. So students avoid early morning lectures. That's the statement, but it's too general. So what we can do, firstly, is to modify the subject. The subject here is students, the verb is objects, and early morning lecture. All of that is the object. Subject, verb, object. Okay, so I can modify the subject by saying some. Some students avoid early morning lectures. Now I can get away with that because some could mean two or more. So even if there are 100 students, 98% of them come on time to the lecture, but only two don't, then I'm still allowed to say that because some means two or more. Over here, modify the verb. Students tend to avoid early morning lectures. Tend to is another way to say usually. Okay, so I could say students usually avoid early morning lectures. Now, this is refutable. This statement with using tend to is refutable because I can say not every morning, not every lecture, but some lectures. And there, some again, it means two or more. Okay. And then we can modify the object early morning lectures, by clarifying it, by saying, not all of them, just the ones that I'm talking about, particularly this group. Okay, so students avoid early morning lectures, particularly ones that start before 8:30 a.m. So if I clarify it or I modify it using something like this word particularly, I can get away with saying this without somebody saying that's not true. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is looking at some ways of combining all of this together. So if I combine 1, 2, and 3, I get this. Some students tend to avoid early morning lectures, particularly ones that start before 8:30 a.m. Now, that is very difficult to refute. It's irrefutable. Okay? Because, well, it's not totally irrefutable, but if I've got some knowledge of the world, I can say at least 2 people that I know personally say the lecture starts at 8:20, I'm sleeping in. I'll go to the next lecture at 10 o'clock. Okay, and if I know these people, then making a statement like this, it is basically irrefutable. And that becomes a type of hedging. All of these here, some, tend to, and after the comma. Okay, and when I can use hedging properly, I can get away from the pitfall of being called refutable. Okay, let's have a look at some practice now. There's a typical stereotype. For those of you who don't know what a stereotype is, let's zoom into this one here. A stereotype is a belief or an idea of what a particular type of person or thing is like. They're usually unfair or untrue. So a racist stereotype is a common collocation. A woman don't fit into the stereotype of a good mother. These stereotypes about the elderly, all elderly people don't do enough exercise. Well, can you say that statement? Yes, many of them don't do enough exercise, but a lot of them do. 20% of them do. So I can't just make a stereotype about elderly people in relation to exercise. So have a look at the stereotype. The Taiwanese people, or the Taiwanese, are more direct than the Japanese. And direct in this case meaning more likely to tell or say their viewpoint or express their feelings compared to the Japanese. So that's a stereotype, because I know a lot of outspoken Japanese people, and I know a lot of shy Taiwanese people who won't open their mouth when they're asked to give their true opinion about something. Okay, so it's dangerous to stereotype, it's dangerous to generalize like before, and that's when we need to hedge. Okay, so let's have a look at what you could do with this one. So the first thing you could do is change this from the Taiwanese to some Taiwanese people, or many Taiwanese people, or a fair number of Taiwanese people, or a significant percentage of Taiwanese people, or the majority of Taiwanese people. Okay, this helps you to pull it down from the idea that all Taiwanese people are more direct than all Japanese people. Okay, and then looking at the main verb are here, again we've got the structure tend to be. That's a very common way of hedging the verb. In this case it's be, so tend to be. Can be is also very common as well. They can be more direct. And then with are usually, are often, and for the most part are, that comes at the before the verb are here for the most part. And there are a few others that we can do, and we'll be looking at that in this section, more practice activities for hedging. The next thing you could probably do after this comma here is using the word particularly. So many Taiwanese people are more direct than the Japanese, particularly in certain cities, and you can mention a city that you know particularly where Japanese people are much less expressive of their feelings and opinions. Particularly if they are elderly, or older. Young Japanese tend to be a bit more open with their ideas and expressing themselves. But again, I'm generalizing. That's why I use the word tend to. Young people tend to be more open with what they want to say. Particularly when, particularly when they don't know you very well. So some Taiwanese people are more direct than many Japanese people, particularly when they don't know you. So notice that I can also use this over here as well, just before take away the. I can use those in the object section as well, not just in the subject. Okay, and here's the verb. All right, and one more thing you couldn't possibly do is, let's move that out the way, is expressing it that somebody else says this, but you don't necessarily agree, but that's what you heard. That's what you believe other people also think. And the common ones are like this. It is commonly believed that, some people hold the idea that, many people consider the Taiwanese people to be more direct than the Japanese, particularly in, for example, rural areas. Okay, so that's another option that you can take when you're hedging. All right, so this is just the introduction to hedging. There will be more practice of hedging in this section, in the next lecture, and so you'll be able to do a lot more practice with it then. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below, or on Facebook on the IELTS Step-by-Step community group. Okay, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.